Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Prophetic Lifestyles with Bernard Bolton. I'm coming on with the prophetic word, but I want to say to you first, if these videos are a blessing to you, subscribe to this channel, like and share this video. Okay. Now, today I want to give a prophetic word in the season. We're in the season of Nisan. It's the spiritual new year that we have entered into, and so it's actually a blessed time. It's a time of beginnings. It's a new year. And so one of the principles of Nisan, which also is linked to the spring, one of the principles is sowing. Whenever you enter into a new year, whenever you enter into a new season or a new month, sowing should be one of those things that you should be automatically thinking about. And I heard the Lord say that He is blessing His people with sowing. But I want to do some, as I'm prophesying, I also want to do some explanations, because many of us, we received an erroneous teaching and doctrine related to sowing, and we've actually, in many churches, we were taught that if you sow offerings, you're going to reap money, you're gonna reap financial blessings, and you're gonna reap stuff and things. And many of us did that. When I was a young pastor in the 90s, I faithfully gave tithes and offerings. Even though I was only in my first church, I was making $200 a week, until the church stopped paying me after 6 months because we ran out of money. We didn't have a faithful congregation of givers, so that when they ran out of money, I stopped getting paid. And then at the second church I pastored, I made $300 a week. A lot of my friends tried to tell me that was a good salary, but it really wasn't. I struggled for those years. I was under a lot of stress, dealing with depression because I didn't have enough money to live off of. And even though I was, but I kept giving, and I would give tithes and I would give offerings to the church. Many times I couldn't even afford to give a tithe. I had bills. I had to buy groceries. My wife wasn't working because our son was a toddler and she was home providing for him. And so, but I kept giving because I believed that I was going to reap, And I would pray to the Lord and tell the Lord, Lord, I got all these bills. I need some money. I need to reap. I need a financial harvest. And every month I wouldn't get the financial harvest. I wasn't, the more money wasn't coming in. I think I got one raise from that second church at $50 a week. So they raised me from $300 a week to $350 a week. And I struggled until till finally I left. But years later, the Lord began to teach me that the reaping was actually in Him giving me opportunities, not Him giving me money, not Him giving me money to pay my bills, but the Lord says He was giving me opportunities to make more money. And He was also giving me opportunities to learn to be a better manager over my money. Hey, Irene, God bless you. Thank you for watching today. He was also giving me opportunities to be educated, because I really didn't know how to manage money. I didn't know how to steward my money. I didn't know how to budget. And I was getting those opportunities and I was bypassing them. And so after a while, I started to understand that sowing, although I still sow offerings, even today, I sow offerings, I sow tithes into my mentor's ministry, my spiritual leader. I sow into her ministry, tithes into her life. And, but I now understand how the harvest comes. It doesn't come from heaven. God's not opening a window, pouring out money. There is no money in heaven. Money is a currency in the earth. It's a earth unit. But what God will do for you is he will give you opportunities. If you have a business, he will give you opportunities. And I've made, I've been blessed in my business as an author, a writer, a coach, a publisher. Okay. And so understanding sowing, you want to sow because sowing does automatically create a harvest. Genesis chapter 8 says that as long as the earth remains, there will be sowing, there will be seed time and harvest, sowing and reaping. So sowing is actually the beginning. So we're in a season of sowing, and we have an expectation of reaping. Now, here's also something else. Your reaping is not going to occur in the same season of your sowing. So you reap every month, and there are some reaping, there is some harvest that you can get in a month. I did a class on how to sow and reap in the same month, but most of your harvest is coming in the future. But here's something else. When you are sowing, there are certain areas you have to understand what you're going to harvest, what you're going to reap. Okay. If you are sowing into yourself, because you should be sowing in yourself, you should be educating yourself, you should be increasing your learning, you should be increasing your capacity to do more with your life, and so that's an act of sowing. You should be sowing in your relationships. You should be sowing into whether you're married or whether you are single, whether you are involved in a relationship, you should be sowing into that person so that you can reap. You should be sowing. And so there's many ways to sow. Sowing is actually planting. It is giving, it is planting, but sowing is also the act of creating the future. So as you are sowing in this season, all right, please understand, what am I going to reap? Because when we are sowing, we have an expectation of harvest. But we want to know what the harvest is. And so the Lord is saying to us, and I'm prophesying that the Lord says, as you learn the principles of sowing, and as you begin to see what you're sowing and where you are sowing, as you begin to look at that, then the Lord says, also begin to see your harvest. What are you going to receive? Don't just sow because you're being emotionally stirred to sow. Don't just sow because, you're expecting something, but know what your harvest is. Know what your harvest is. I'm currently in school. I'm getting my second coaching certification. I have to pay for that every month. I just met with my mentor, my coach mentor last week. It was an incredible session. He is sowing. I'm sowing into his school, and he's sowing into me, and I'm receiving a harvest. I'm actually seeing the harvest. I'm seeing an increase in my coaching business because I've gone through the school. Okay. And so you have to understand, when the farmer sows seeds, the farmer already knows. The farmer already knows what the harvest is going to be. If he's planting corn, he already knows what the harvest is going to be. If he's planting watermelons, he already knows. So so the prophetic word for today is to know the harvest. Know what you are harvesting. Okay. See what you are receiving as you are sowing. Never sow until you can see, until you can know what you're sowing. If you sow in a ministry, you're sowing into that ministry not to get money, but you're sowing into that ministry because you're already receiving a harvest from it. Either you're growing, you're learning, you're being edified, you're being stretched, And many times the Lord will even speak to you what you need to be doing. Again, in the 90s, when the Lord was challenging me, the Lord showed me how much money I had made over a 5-year period. I was astonished because I hadn't paid no attention. I hadn't saved anything. And and even though I knew the principles of saving, because my grandmother taught me how to be a saver, but I was not saving because I had a family to take care of. But as the Lord began to stretch me, he began to teach me what sowing and reaping really is. I'm going to do a class, hopefully very soon, on what sowing and reaping is, how to sow and reap in the same month, in the same season, and how some sowing is for you to reap in the future. All right. God bless you. Yes, Latoria. Yeah, we said that earlier. So listen, at 7:30 tonight, I'm going to be doing a teaching on why Easter replaced Passover in the church. And we're going to look at, and this is not a criticism or a rebuke of Easter, but we're going to look at how we lost so much from when the church was Romanized, when the church was Romanized, and the influence of the Roman Empire began to infiltrate the church, and we lost much of our heritage. Okay, not suggesting that we have to observe Passover, but Passover is the season where Jesus died. Jesus came as the Passover lamb. And so one of the things we should be doing is we should be observing Passover, okay? Observing Passover, and not in a spiritual sense, okay? Not as Jews, because we're not Jews, but in a prophetic sense, we want to get back everything that was stolen from the church. We want to receive the fullness of the revelation of God. There is a revelation in Passover that is still applicable to us in the new covenant today. So we're going to be teaching on that at 7:30 tonight. I hope you all will join us. Thanks for watching this morning as we did this prophetic word. I pray that this is a blessing to you. All right. God bless you. Shalom. Shalom.